Today on the channel, I'm going to show you part 2 of me building a do-it-yourself Gibson Les Paul custom guitar kit. Okay, so we are in stage 1 of building this guitar, and the staining has begun. I taped around the binding with my painter's tape, and I like this dye, this RIT dye. I got this this graphite. It's not super dark. It's kind of easy to sand out of the laminate tops. So I'm going to let this dry a little bit. Then we're going to get this little bit of this dark out of it, and so this grain will look really pretty and quilty, and then apply our main color. So looking good, looking good. Takes a lot of patience, which I do not have. Taping around this body and making it look good. I want to protect the binding, so yep, gonna keep it going. All right, so this graphite ink has dried. Took a little bit of a hair dryer to it to dry it off a little bit more, and I like how it made this grain pop just a little bit. Didn't change the color dramatically, so I am not going to apply any steel wool to this. I'm really scared I'm going to go through the finish. I've done that before on some of my first models that I did. I'm a little gun shy, so I'm going to just put the color on it. You can see the seam here where they glue it. I can't really do much about that, so that's just going to be a part of the guitar that we'll just deal with. And yeah, we got this ink from Hobby Lobby. I really like their alcohol inks for dyeing stain. One thing I wanted to let you know, earlier on my first video of this, it showed that this thing didn't come with the toggle switch and the pots and the knobs. They had them all inside this cavity with the cover over it. Had no idea. It came packed weird. So another happy ending to that there. I wound up getting the pots and the knobs. I'm going to put my own pots in here that are better, but at least I got the knobs. That's going to save me, $12-15 on knobs. So yeah, all right, we're going to apply this color. Going for, this little bit of a pinky red color. I don't know why, just going to do it. So here we go. What I like to do is take, a little bit of water and then mix my ink in with the water like this. That lets it dilute a little bit. And I stir it up a little bit. It's weird, this ink gets kind of gooey, so you want to be careful not to get the gooey stuff on the guitar. It creates a reaction when you put it in water. I guess it makes it gel up a little bit, so you don't want this jelly stuff on your guitar. But that's kind of the color I'm going for. So I'm just going to dip a little bit of my cloth in the top of this reddish pink, and we'll see what it looks like when we put it on. Okay, so let's try a little bit of this and see what we get. Okay, dip a little bit of this in here. Some of y'all are probably like, why are you doing it that pink color? It's gonna look like Pepto-Bismol or something. Well, I try to go for colors that I don't have in guitars. I've got a purple Wolfgang, it's basic model that I don't like purple so much, but not that I'm crazy about pink, but pink is kind of a neat color, and it's one of the It's one of the rarest of the Ernie Ball Music Man Van Halen's, the pink, and I think that pink Ernie Ball Music Man looks so good. So I'm gonna embrace my feminine side and go with this pink. This is coming out really nice. My big fear was that it would be splotchy and look super dark in certain areas and light in others. I hate it when they glue these pieces of mahogany together and then you get this seam line. You can't do anything about it and it just stands out like a sore thumb. You can't unsee it. So hopefully I can really saturate that sucker and get that line down the center. If not, maybe I'll just take a Sharpie before I lacquer it and just run a black line down the middle of it rather than just a clear unpainted section of it that I think looks unfinished. It's unfortunate, it's always like on the top, these things, so. I'm gonna take some light sandpaper and sand this back so shouldn't be as dark as this. I don't know if it turns out this dark, I don't really care. Just having fun with it. Now I can see where the binding around this horn of this guitar was glued. You can't tell this stuff until you start putting the stuff on there. So it doesn't really attach this dye to it very good. You got to be careful not to oversaturate it, because if you do with these laminates, it'll bubble up. Because it's really just a piece of paper. I mean, that's all that paper is really, is thin wood, right? And it's like tissue paper. It's not quite that thin, but man, it's thin. So I've just got like PTSD about sanding through. You sand through, then you get these splotches on there, and that doesn't look good. You build these for fun, but in the back of your mind, you want these things to look better than anything that's ever been made. You're like, I'm gonna make this thing so perfect, no one's gonna tell. But yeah, they'll be able to tell. It's a kit guitar. There's stuff that's gonna be screwed up. But if it plays awesome, it looks good, you've got the joy of knowing you did it. I guess that's the major thing, right? That's what you really want. I really like how this section turned out right here. This looks really nice. The grain on this section of the guitar and in this area is beautiful. Not happy that this laminate right here is not picking up this dye because of the glue around that horn. I just really saturated that. I got to be careful because it's really not going to go in. And I'm gonna lift this laminate off this guitar. If I'm not careful, I'm rubbing really lightly on it because I don't even want to coax this thing to come off in the least bit. I'm just trying to go over areas that I can visually see are not quite as even as the rest of the guitar. This is probably going to lighten up a lot once I dry it because it's wet. When it lightens up, it's liable to lighten up another 2 or 3 shades. Who knows? It may not. I mean, it's kind of a crapshoot, but it should lighten up. I got to get around the edges up here, around this binding. I taped around the binding. I know it probably wouldn't adhere to the plastic, get inside the binding or not. You never know what's going to happen on these kit guitars. These things are built so quickly, so you know, it's all machine. No one spot checks it. Quality control is not, it's not the main goal. It's to crank out tons of them and sell them as cheap as they can. So really it's just for a hobbyist. It's not really for someone who's wanting perfection. You could probably spend tons of money on this thing and get it just right, but if you're going to do that, I'd say just buy one. Buy a nice guitar, unless you just are really into making these things. That's kind of me. I just like doing it. All right. Looks good. Looks good. So let me throw the hair dryer on this thing for a few minutes, and then we'll take a after shot of it. But you can see this line. I'm probably going to take a black Sharpie with a ruler and go down there and just do a seam. I think that's what I'm going to do. All right, so after the hair dryer, it's lightened up a bit. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to take off the tape, and I'm going to buff it down, or not buff it, but sand it with some of this really fine grade steel wool and get this really smooth. Probably take a little bit of this color out of here. I'm going to tape this off. I'm going to tape it off, and I'm going to take a black Sharpie, black or silver, can't decide which one yet, and do a line so that looks better than that, because you cannot fill this in. Cannot do that. It's just the glue and the way they put this wood together. It won't take stain. So I'm going to do that, and we'll come back in a little bit and check it out. Keeping my fingers crossed on this one. You can see the pink lightens up a little bit as you lightly go through this with the you know, the steel wool. So I try to go one direction the best I can. Sorry for the shaky camera action here, but I don't have it on my tripod. But I'm basically doing this through the whole body. I may have to retouch some areas, maybe. Hopefully not, but it's gonna look pretty good. I think it'll really pop when I get the lacquer on it. So gonna keep going for a while, and we'll check back. Here's the body after about 10 or 15 minutes of light sanding, and I'm going to take a wet napkin and get all the junk off of it, all the dust and the grub. I don't know if this takes off any of the ink at all, because it's just a, you know, what is it, some kind of a alcohol ink, so it might. Kind of disappointed in how it looks a little smudged and the edges. I didn't do that. I don't know what's up with that, but it's just kind of how it looks. This is not a guitar you're going to want to look close at, like super close. You want it to look good, but you know what I mean? Not a professional. We're just trying to have some fun. But this looks pretty sweet, man. This looks pretty nice. So quite a quilted top. Hopefully it'll retain some of this darkness when I shoot the lacquer on it. That'll be really nice. So I'm going to wipe this down a couple more times just to make sure it's clean, because it gets off a lot of stuff. And then I'm going to, guess I'll draw that line. So I'm going to use this Varathane wood stain. I got the classic red chestnut. So I've got the body, the binding taped on top and bottom. That was quite a bit of work. But we're going to do the sides first, and then I'm going to do the back the same color. So let's see. I'm going to take a little bit of this. I'll just show you real quick what a little bit of this looks like. Then I'm going to stain this off camera just because it's easier, and it's not super interesting, I don't think, to see someone staining. But this color is going to go on, and it's going to look like this, right? I just wanted something that looked really classic, that would complement that pink really well. And I think it's going to look good. So I'm going to get the sides done. I'll show you that, and I'm going to get the back done as well. Cool. All right, so I've got the sides done and I've taped the binding off again. Got as straight of a line as I possibly can get on the back binding. And it's nice, man. This, you could paint like 50 guitars with a little bit of stain that you actually need for this stuff. I just rub it on with a little piece of old washcloth. Just get it on like this. Just get it on smooth. Apply a little bit more if I want to get it a little bit darker, but this is a really nice color. I'm liking this red chestnut. I think it'll complement the pink really well. And yeah, so let me get the back of this done without being on the camera, so I can just double check and make sure everything looks real good, and make sure the sides of it aren't missing any pieces. And I'll check back in and we'll see what the progress looks like, of course. Moving right along here. Got the headstock coated there in the pink dye, the ink. I'm going to sand that down a little bit to get a little bit of a nice sheen to it. And I've got the binding taped off, and we're going to put some of this wood stain on the neck. So that's going to be the neck piece, the next piece that I get to, and we'll show what that looks like when we're done. This thing is ready for lacquer. I've got the back of the neck stained. I cleaned up the binding really good. I scraped it with a knife and lightly sanded everything with some very, very light sandpaper. Got the back of the body ready to go. The binding looks nice and clean. As clean as I'm going to get it anyway. Looks nice. Kind of wish I didn't have to do the line down the middle, but it looks better than wood that won't take stain. So everything's really smooth. So we're going to hang this baby up. Got some lacquer. Gonna try this Rust-Oleum lacquer. I used to use Watco lacquer. This stuff takes a little bit longer to dry than the Watco stuff, maybe by about 40 minutes. But this stuff really, really shines. I did some on some furniture recently, and it looks so good. Hopefully, I'll get that really luster, that really glossy luster to pop, and then we'll buff it with some rubbing compound later. But awesome. Gonna get this thing hung up and spray it. Back at the shop the next day, we are taking a look at the lacquered finish. I'm doing some wet sanding today. For wet sanding, I just take some ultra fine steel wool, got a little bit of water, and I just lightly sand over the lacquer that I sprayed. I really soak this thing with lacquer. Got the matching headstock there. I've used this Krylon specialty lacquer from Lowe's. Stuff's like 11 bucks, 10, 11 bucks. I used to use Watco lacquer, but the Watco stuff is a little more expensive, and I find that some of this Krylon stuff goes on thicker, and it dries quick too. You can spray about every 15-20 minutes. I lay the guitar flat on its back when I lacquer it, and I shoot it. I stay about 10 inches away from it, and I swipe it back and forth and get a really good saturated coating on it. Try not to do too heavy on the neck angle, just because it'll run a little bit. And then I shoot the sides as I do it, and then I do that several times. Then I flip it. And do the back. I get about, I don't know, maybe about 15 coats of lacquer on this thing with 1 can of spray paint or spray lacquer. Now I'm just trying to get this really smooth. It's smooth already, but I'm just trying to get it smoother and get it cleaned up, get it just looking nicer. And then I'm gonna I've glued the neck in before I went to bed last night. I glued this neck in and clamped it with some Titebond. I use this glue here. I use the Titebond Ultimate. Any good wood glue, Gorilla Glue, Elmer's wood glue, it works. All works good. I've got the guitar resting on a towel because I don't want any extra pressure on this neck. Even though I think this neck's fine, it recommends 24 hours before you put pressure on it, so I won't be able to string it until tonight. But we're going to do a bunch of wet sanding. This is kind of the boring part, but it's essential. And then I'm going to buff it with my orbital buffer, which I'll show that in a little while. So I buffed it out a little bit with my orbital buffer. I love using this Meguiar's rubbing or polishing compound. That stuff is great. I shined it up with some of the Dunlop 65 and it looks nice. I put some lemon oil on the neck to clean it up. The headstock looks pretty. A little bummed, got a little bit of a piece here that the finish wouldn't go in, probably some glue. Got the sides buffed out, got the back buffed. Some of this wood, some of the pores in the wood look a little, some of the lacquer and some of the rubbing compound got in there, so it'll smooth out over time. It's very smooth, but it looks splotchy, so looks like a raw piece of wood. But it's okay. I guess it's just really dry. Maybe some wood sealer would have made that a little bit nicer, but the sides look great. This top looks really nice, I think. Back of the neck looks good. This neck glued in so nice. It was so tight, perfect. So now I'm going to start doing some assembly work. More progress here to update on. Looks like we got the tuners on, got the truss rod cover on, and the bridge. Got the strap buttons attached. Had to screw in, had to drill these holes for the tuner screws and drill the holes for the strap buttons as always. One thing that's nice about these kits that come pre-drilled for the bridge, that's a very precise measurement that you got to do if you've ever got to drill those. I've done that a couple times. It's worth the extra money to get them pre-drilled, honestly. So I'm glad I didn't have to do that this time. If you don't have a drill press and aren't good with measuring and things like that, it can be very dicey. And if you mess that up, the whole guitar's screwed up and you can't undrill a hole. So looking good. So now I'm going to see if I can get those pickup covers off of the Chinese pickups and solder them onto the custom made TNTone pickups. If that's too much of a hassle, I'm just going to put open humbucker pickups, but I'm kind of digging this pink and gold. It's kind of crazy, but for some reason I'm digging it. So I'm hoping I can get those covers on there, but if not, not a big deal. The black will match the black and pink aesthetic. Black, pink, and gold. Lots of progress so far. I have got the pickups installed and the toggle switch. I replaced the volume and tone pots with the nicer set that I had. So the Chinese little tiny pots are in the back in the packaging, but these are the nice larger pots. And so let's check this out. I've got bridge pickup or neck pickup here. That seems to work pretty good. We're going to turn the volume down. Nice. All right. And then do the tone. Much less bright there. All right, so the bridge pickup. Woo, that's a hot one. Yep, the tone works. And middle position. Excellent. Cool. All right, so I always do this when I make Les Pauls. I forgot to put the wiring ground from here to the inside of the cavity, so I wound up having to pull that out. Let me turn off my test amp here, the old champ. So I'll show you my wiring. My wiring is not the best in the world, but it's pretty good. I mean, there's the wiring in there, the bigger pots, and I've got my jack back there. So now I've just got to drill the holes for the little toggle switch cover and get this piece sanded down a little bit better so it fits nicer, and put my washers and my little screws and stuff on these volume and tone pots so they don't sink down in the body. And man, it's going to be good. Think that'll be a wrap. So check it out. Got everything on. It's ready to go. I'm going to put the strings on it now. I've got the bridge ready to go and get the bridge adjusted. I'm going to adjust the intonation, put some strings on it. Here's the back of the guitar. Okay, there's the control plates. Looks a little dry, just how the wood took this lacquer on it. Almost looks like it's been played a lot, like it's relic. So hey, you know, I don't care. That back looks all right to me. One thing I thought was interesting, I took the gold covers off the Chinese pickups, and they were red. The neck one was red, and the bridge was black and red, and it says ESP Designed. So these are ESP Designed pickups. So maybe these are like Schecters or LTDs or something. I don't know. Any ideas? But that's what they look like. Interesting. Really happy with how this came out. The pickups seem really nice, really hot. Hopefully they sound great. I'm going to string this up. The neck has been glued long enough, so we're going to do that and get it going and do a sound check. Here she is in all her glory. I'm really proud of this guitar. It came out great. It sounds amazing. I can't wait to show you the audio demo at the end of this video. Thanks for hanging in with me during this build process. Very proud of this thing. I was very patient. Had a few roadblocks and bumps along the way, but nothing too major. Everything came together really nice. I didn't have a couple parts and pieces, but fortunately I was able to scour through my parts bins and get everything I needed. A couple nuts and bolts here and there, but overall this thing was a real pleasure to work with. And the TNTones, those pickups sound so good on this guitar. It's total Van Halen and ZZ Top. I love it. I can't wait to show you. The wood on the back of this guitar didn't really take the stain wonderful, but it looks like it's been played a lot. I've looked at this and looked at it, and it just looks like it's been played. I really love the way it looks. So that was kind of a happy accident. I think that looks nice. The neck has a very thin layer of lacquer on it. Everything's super clean on this guitar. I love it. This one's going to be a regular player of mine. This thing sounds so good. The pickups are so incredible, and it plays great. The intonation was wonderful right out of the gate, man. I didn't really have to adjust anything major with intonation on this. It's fantastic. So the moment we've been waiting for, let's plug it in and get some tones.